Let's explore another 4 leadership lessons that Squid Game can teach us. The gamble of being first versus being last. Now this is a big quandary that we see in 2 of the games, particularly when Ji-hun ends up giving up the chance to go first to player 96 in the Glass Stepping Stones game. A decision that turns out to be pivotal to Ji-hun's survival and the fate of player 96. In this case, going first is clearly a bad idea for the individual's survival, but something that enhances the survival chances of the rest of the group. So is going first really bad? Well, not in the case of the first game, red light, green light. In this case, the players that hesitated and ended up not crossing the line in time, they ran out of time and they didn't make it. In the workplace, we often see hesitation or fear at being the first ones to try something new, to implement a new change or a new procedure or a new way of working or software or business process. Going first is a gamble, and it's something that causes fear and discomfort for many people. That's human nature. But as we see in Squid Game, waiting till the end is not always the best solution either. As most of the games in Squid Game are played against a clock, it looks to be more of a disadvantage being the one that hesitates or has to rush at the end. Leaders play a vital role in helping their teams choose the right time to act. Sometimes they'll get it right, and sometimes they won't. But you'll find a lot of leaders are very keen to be the ones to act first, because that helps break down barriers for others, and if things go well, can put the early adopter at a competitive advantage. If it doesn't prove to be the right decision to go first, then generally it's either a bit of money or time wasted, not generally a life or death decision. And often going first, even when it doesn't work well, can be very much appreciated by the wider group. You might be the one to find out that a business process or piece of software doesn't work or needs improvement, and save everybody else the pain of having to find it out themselves. And in that way, you'll be seen as an innovator, as somebody who gets stuff done, someone who breaks down barriers, somebody who helps advance the rest of the mission for everybody else, maybe at the expense of a bit of their own wasted time. But it's always positive. Leaders use their experience to build up that really innate sense of the risks that are involved in going first, and the advantages and disadvantages whether they go first or last. And then they'll use that ability to recommend the best time to strike. They won't always get it right, but you'll find the best leaders back the right horse more often than not. Pressure brings out the best and worst in people. You only have to look at the marbles game for several examples of this. In particular, the self-sacrifice of Ji-young, player 240, who chooses to save Se-byok as she feels that Se-byok has more to gain from surviving the situation. And then you see the traumatic betrayal of Ali, I'm Still Not Over It, by Sang-woo, an undoubtedly dastardly act to save himself. Would any of these characters have done something like this if the pressure hadn't been cranked right up to the max by that shadow of impending death? Pressure situations bring out characteristics in people that you might not otherwise see. And sometimes these behaviours are ones that you really wouldn't want to see. I've seen it in the workplace as well. I've seen people throw others under the bus to take the rap from a failed project, or I've seen people put their superhero costumes on to save a project or a company from failure, regardless of whose fault it was. Leaders play a key role here, because ideally we don't want either of these situations to occur. We don't want people being blamed for failures, and there certainly should be no need for massive self-sacrifice to rescue a situation. And great leaders minimise the chances of either of these extreme situations occurring by managing their projects and work carefully and closely. When things start getting out of control, great leaders can rally the troops to bring the situation back in again. That might not avert a failure, because all leaders will experience failures, but great leaders have the ability to manage that risk so that any failure is at least not a total catastrophe. Human nature dictates that people will often act to extremes when under huge pressure. So leaders manage that pressure. They manage the pressure their teams are under so that individuals never have to pay such a personal sacrifice either voluntarily or involuntarily. Because great leaders are constantly monitoring the temperature of a situation, relieving the tension periodically to give their teams a chance to focus and move forward. If things are getting tense, they'll ease the pressure a bit. If things are getting lax, they might ramp it up a bit. Try to avoid snap judgments about people. Well, when I watched Squid Game, I was pretty quick to make my own mind up about people and their motivations. And an early theme is that it does seem most of the contestants have got themselves into financial difficulty by abusing vices or pleasures, gambling, fraud, crime and such like. But North Korean refugee Kang Se-byok is not in this category. She's accumulated debt to get her mother out of the north. We also learn that she wishes to get the prize money to reunite her family, something that wasn't apparent until her character develops fully in the show. And as a leader, you'll be responsible for interacting with a lot of people, some at close quarters, some much less frequently. You might have fleeting interactions with some people that might inform your entire opinion about them. Maybe somebody had a bad result to a project. Does that mean they performed badly the whole way through? Leaders need to be sure that they assimilate as much information as possible about people and use that information when evaluating or forming their opinions. Leaders often have to do reviews that affect people's career. It's vital to understand the complexities of the people and their own personalities and lives, because there'll always be a reason for underperformance. And great performance might also be down to a lot of factors that might not seem obvious at the start. Maybe somebody's great performance was heavily influenced by somebody else. Maybe somebody else should be getting more of the credit. Leaders need to know the whole picture. I've seen bad leaders make super snap judgments about people based on really small pieces of work or brief interactions, and judgments that are then too close to ever change, even when new information comes to light. That kind of leader that watches when people enter the building and exit the building and then bases their opinion on the number of hours somebody works. Maybe that person came into the office late that day or had to leave early because of a childcare issue. Leaders who don't understand the full picture before making their decisions and judgments are the ones that run into trouble. So as a leader, remember that the results you see are just the tip of the iceberg. The more you spend time getting to really know your teams, the more informed you'll be. And the results, just like the story of Sebiok, are often surprising. Honesty counts. In Squid Game, we see several instances of where characters break their promises and grim consequences ensue. One powerful example is where we see the gangster Jiok-soo promise to protect his supposed ally, Min-yao, and then fail to follow through. Min-yao certainly remembers this and takes him down on the glass bridge with no regard for her own life, but every regard for exacting her revenge. And the moral of this story is that if you're dishonest with people, then they will certainly remember. And whilst not everybody will be out for revenge, it's certainly a case of when rather than if you get your payback. In the world of leadership, being honest is one of the most vital of all characteristics. Leaders can often be really demanding and deliver tough messages, but if it's all done with the backdrop of a culture of honesty and trust, then these messages can be a lot easier for people to swallow. And you'll find that people will be a lot more respectful of the tough decisions a leader has to make. Unfortunately, not all leaders are as honest as they could be, and we've all worked for people that unfortunately look to have lost their way in terms of integrity. As a leader in business, it's vital to establish your own standards of honesty, integrity, and humility, and establish them very early on in your mission. Because you'll find that your followers will deliver more than you ever thought possible if they believe they're doing it for a great mission and for a leader who is as honest as they get. This is really how you can build your own reputation as a leader that is worth following. It's amazing how many links into the world of leadership we can see in Squid Game. Are there any we've missed? Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to see what you thought. Are you over Ali? Let me know in the comments as well. For more on getting the best out of your teams at work, have a look at this video. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.